Hello again, YouTube. I'm back with another video. Angle slightly different this time, so it's new and exciting. Um, my day's been pretty good. I went to see a friend play a concert, which was pretty cool. Got to go to like a little venue in New York City, and I will probably try and go to more shows like that. It was pretty cool, and I've been kind of doing the college thing, just the school has like a couple of free box lunches, so I've been going there and like stealing those. Yeah, taking them back to my dorm, so I have food and don't have to pay for it because I have no money. Spend all my money on Yu-Gi-Oh cards, of course. But today I'm gonna talk about just sort of the path I took to get better in Yu-Gi-Oh, and it's gonna be a two-part video. Most of what I want to talk about is going to be in the video tomorrow. I'm just going to do a video a day probably because I actually like making them, and I'm just going to go through my sort of timeline of like how I got better at Yu-Gi-Oh, just events I've gone to, just important moments, and let's get started. So I started playing in 2002 when the game first came to the United States. Like obviously I was obsessed with the show. I was like 10 or something. Yeah, 10, because I'm 18 now, and good math skills. But started playing then, and I just played around with my friends. Like we didn't know the rules too well, probably like most of you guys. Uh, and then I talk with my hands a lot, so I want you guys to be able to see it. Uh, so a year later, I was on Pojo all the time, but looking at like their card of the days and some of the articles that people would write, which was great at the time. Like, uh, I ended up finding a local through hearing about the tournaments on Pojo. I wasn't on the forums at that point. I was just on the main website, uh, and so yeah, I ended up going to a local. It was pretty close, like half hour away, and me and a couple of my friends would go, and I vividly remember the first time I went. I got fucking destroyed. Like I had read on Pojo that you can't trap Jinza, which to my mind back then seemed ridiculous. Like it gets summoned, it's not on the field yet. I should be able to trap hole it, right? Like I'm right, but and then I had my trap hole set, and this guy, like one of the better players at the shop, actually, I got paired up with him first round. He goes offers monster, and like I don't even wait for him to play the monster. I like kind of already flip my trap hole. He's like Jinzo, and I'm like, oh shit. Like then I remember that I can't trap hole Jinzo. There's one little anecdote. I want to keep this video short, so I gotta get a move on. But I went to locals, got destroyed, and would just I kept going there for a couple months, and eventually, after I also had to get good cards. Like I traded a bunch and got good cards. So along with going to locals, I would advise anyone who's like getting started and wants to get a lot better to go to locals and go online. Go to Pojo, Duelist Rounds, any forums. Like you just gotta learn a lot about the game if you want to get good. Learn about current decks and everything like that. Good cards coming out that you want to trade for, things that could improve your deck, just all sorts of things like that. Maybe probably a lot of you guys watching this already know that. You're probably some of the better players, but whatever. Uh, so eventually, I was doing pretty well at locals. Like I remember I got second for like 4 weeks in a row or something like that. This was probably like 2004, 3. I don't know. And I had a cool ritual deck, and I finally won my first local with a burn deck. And I mean, to me at the time, that felt pretty good. Like I won my first local, something I was competing in, and finally did well. And uh, then over the next like months, I mean, I would consistently win, and there was a group of like good players, me included, me and like my friends, their brothers, and a couple other people, and that's one thing I really like about Yu-Gi-Oh. Like you get a group of really good players playing together, and they all improve faster because they're playing together. Like that's why I think New York City is a good place because higher population density means more good players. Some geography lesson there. Uh, Higher quality of play, and that's one thing I love about Yu-Gi-Oh! Just getting good people together and bouncing ideas off each other, what have you. And I went to a few regionals and a Shonen Jump around 2005, but I did really bad. Like I was going like X and 4, X and 3, and like right now, for me, at this level now, like that's unacceptable. Like even on a bad day, I really should not be going X and 3. Like I feel really bad if I do that. But at that time, I mean, it was cool. So X and 3 or X and 4 was pretty bad. I was just really not ready for that kind of play. I guess like I wasn't at that level. Uh, and in Shonen Jump Boston 2005, I got second in the finals of a side event. And back then, side events weren't all random. Like I won a bunch of smaller side events, just like 8-man tournaments, and uh, there was like a top 8 cutoff for people with the most points. So, but like the important thing is through all this, I'm gonna cut this video short, but through all this, these side events, I got to play against a lot of players from Comic Odyssey. Any of you older players might remember them. Like they're a really big team. They were a really big team from California that would fly out to all these events, and I think a lot of younger players, me included, kind of idolized them. Like they were really living the Yu-Gi-Oh dream. They would fly to events, be sponsored, and win cards that the sponsor would take for money, and they were basically getting paid to play, paid to travel, paid to have fun playing Yu-Gi-Oh. Like that's my goal. That's always been my goal. And so I got to play against a bunch of those guys, and they were way ahead of their time. They were really good back then, and I basically sacked. I got really lucky against them. That's how I won most of my games. But from watching their games, I did really learn a lot. Like it was Go format, scapegoat format. So they would be like they wouldn't play their Graceful Charity until they had like a Sinister Serpent or like a Night Assail or something like that in hand. Like they wouldn't play it right away. Whereas like I just thought you always played it right away, and I eventually started doing what they did, and like little things like that are just really important. And I mean, it gets you a plus if you're using it with Sinister Serpent, which is insanely important. They would hold their delinquent duos sometimes. Like I would just see them doing all these things, and they were smart. So I picked up some of it or just applied it to my game. Like I just learned a lot from watching them play. And after Shonen Jump 05, like I learned a lot about like reads, and yeah, I just gotten a lot better from watching them play. And I think that's where I'm going to end this video. It might end up being a 3-part video, I guess. But so this one will end with Shonen Jump Boston, me learning a lot from Comic Odyssey. Uh, Shout out to Juan Cardenas. I don't think he plays anymore. I don't think maybe a lot of you don't know him. He was on Comic Odyssey, and he was the guy that I learned a lot from. So I'm going to cut this video short, and I'll make more soon. So I'll see you guys later.